The marketplace was full of noise, light, and smoke. Alien traders shouted about their goods. Strange animals cried from cages, and the smell of burning metal mixed with food from stalls. People walked fast, holding bags, avoiding eye contact. No one wanted trouble in this place. Trouble was always near. In the middle of this chaos, a cry rose above everything. "Please, somebody help. Please, my daughter." It was the voice of an alien mother. She had scales like shining glass and deep green eyes filled with tears. In her arms, she clutched a small girl. The girl's tiny body was trapped inside a glowing energy cage, sparks jumping around her skin. The mother's hand shook as she tried to pull her daughter out. But every time she touched the cage, lightning burned her fingers. She screamed again, her voice breaking, but people only looked for a moment and then walked away. Everyone knew the rule: do not interfere. The guards would punish anyone who touched things that belonged to the slave market, and this cage clearly belonged to the market. But one human stopped. He was tall, with rough clothes and tired eyes. He had been passing through the market, searching for spare parts for his ship. His name was Daniel. He turned his head when he heard the cry, and unlike the others, he did not look away. He saw the little girl's face pressed against the glowing bars, her mouth opening weakly as if she could not breathe. He saw the mother's desperation, her hands bleeding, her knees on the dirty ground. Something inside him refused to move on. Daniel pushed through the crowd. People whispered, some shaking their heads. "Stupid human," one alien muttered. "He doesn't know what he's doing." The guards were already moving. Tall armored aliens with black masks, holding shock staves that hummed with power. They blocked Daniel's path. "Stay back, human," one of them growled. "This is not your matter." Daniel didn't stop. He spoke calmly, but his voice carried weight. "Her child is dying." The guard laughed, a cruel sound. "Then she will die." "It is the law of the market." The mother cried louder, clutching at Daniel's arm now. "Please, please save her. I will give you anything, just save her." Daniel looked at the cage. It was unstable. Sparks flew like angry bees. One wrong move and the girl could be burned alive. The crowd backed away, afraid of the explosion. But Daniel stepped closer. "Move aside," he said. The guards crossed their staves in front of him. "If you touch that cage, you die." For a moment, silence filled the air. Everyone was watching. The mother's sobs echoed through the marketplace, mixing with the crackle of the energy field. The little girl's small chest rose and fell slower and slower. Daniel clenched his fists. He remembered Earth, his sister, how once he had held her hand when she was sick. He remembered making a promise long ago, that if he ever had the chance, he would never stand by while someone innocent suffered. He looked straight into the guard's black mask and stepped forward. "Then let me die," he said. Gasps spread through the crowd. The guards hissed in anger, but before they could strike, Daniel dropped his bag, ripped off his jacket, and threw himself at the cage. The energy tore into his skin. Sparks burned his arms and chest, making the smell of smoke rise from his clothes. He gritted his teeth, refusing to scream. His hands reached through the blazing field, found the little girl's frail body, and pulled with all his strength. The crowd shouted. The guards rushed forward. But Daniel didn't stop. With a roar, he yanked her free. The cage cracked, sparks exploding into the air like fireworks. Daniel fell backward, the child in his arms, his clothes smoking, his skin blistered. The mother screamed and rushed to him. She took her daughter, hugging her tightly, tears flooding down her cheeks. "She's alive. She's alive," she sobbed. The little girl coughed weakly, her eyes opening just a little. She looked at Daniel, and for a moment he saw a spark of life return to her face. That was enough. But the guards were not done. They raised their staves, anger burning in their voices. "Human, you broke the law of the market. You will pay with your life." The crowd stepped back even more, forming a circle. Nobody wanted to be close when blood was spilled. The mother clutched her daughter tighter, her eyes wide with fear. She looked at Daniel, shaking her head. "Run, please, run!" Daniel pushed himself to his feet, breathing hard, smoke still rising from his arms. His face was pale, his body weak, but his eyes were steady, calm, unbroken. He looked at the guards, then at the mother. "I'm not leaving her," he said. The guards stepped closer, their weapons sparking. The mother screamed again. The crowd held its breath. And Daniel, standing between the soldiers and the alien child he had just saved, prepared to fight with nothing but his will. The desperate cry had been answered. But the real danger was only beginning. The air smelled of burning sparks and smoke. Daniel's arms were still shaking from the shock of the energy cage. His skin burned, but he ignored the pain. The alien child was alive, coughing softly in her mother's arms. For a moment, hope filled the marketplace, but it did not last. The guards stepped forward, their black armor shining under the market lights. Their staves glowed with dangerous blue fire. The leader hissed, "Human, you broke the law." "The punishment is death," the crowd whispered. Some aliens shook their heads. Others whispered that the human was foolish, that no one could fight the market guards and live. Yet no one stepped in to help him. No one dared. Daniel stood in front of the mother and child, shielding them with his own body. His voice was calm but heavy. "I don't care about your law. She was dying. I did what was right." The leader slammed his staff on the ground, sparks scattering like angry insects. "Then you will die for your foolish right." The guards attacked. The first swing of the staff came fast, but Daniel rolled aside, his human reflexes saving him by inches. The staff smashed into the ground, cracking the stone floor. Daniel grabbed a broken piece of metal from a stall and swung it like a weapon. It was crude, but his eyes burned with determination. He struck one guard across the chest. The alien stumbled back, surprised by the force. Daniel wasn't strong like them, but he fought with desperation, the kind only a human who refused to give up could show. The mother gasped, holding her daughter tightly. She wanted to scream for him to stop, but her voice caught in her throat. She could only watch as the human risked his life for strangers. Another guard lunged. Daniel blocked with the metal bar, sparks flying. The shock burned his hands, but he held on. He ducked low, kicked the guard's leg, and sent him crashing into a stall full of fruit. The crowd gasped as alien fruit rolled across the floor, but there were too many guards. 2 more closed in, surrounding him. Daniel's breath came fast. His arms ached. His vision blurred from the heat of the sparks. But he refused to step back. One of the guards shouted, "Take him alive. Let the slavers deal with him." That command gave Daniel only seconds. He knew if they captured him, he would be tortured, or worse. His only chance was to escape. He glanced back at the mother. Her eyes met his. She was shaking, terrified. She whispered, "Please. Please don't leave us." Daniel gave a short nod. "I won't." Then he made his move. He charged forward, slamming his shoulder into one guard's chest. The alien stumbled back. Daniel grabbed the guard's staff before it could fall, yanking it from his grip. The weapon buzzed in his hands, dangerous, unstable, but now it was his. The crowd roared in shock. No one had ever seen a human hold a market staff before. Daniel spun the weapon, holding it like a spear. "Stay back," he warned, his voice steady despite his bleeding arms. The guards hesitated. For the first time, they saw not just a human, but a fighter. Someone who refused to bow. The leader hissed in anger, "Kill him!" But before the guards could strike again, a loud alarm rang out across the marketplace. Red lights flashed on the walls. Heavy shutters began to close. Someone had reported the fight. The whole market was going into lockdown. Daniel realized his chance. He turned, grabbed the mother's arm, and shouted, "Run!" She clutched her daughter close and followed him. Together they dashed through the narrowing streets as heavy doors slammed shut behind them. Guards shouted orders, their footsteps echoing. Drones flew above, red eyes searching for escape. Daniel pushed through the crowd, knocking over crates, dodging merchants. His body screamed with pain, but his legs kept moving. The mother struggled to keep up, her daughter heavy in her arms, but Daniel never let go of her hand. They reached a dark alley just as the shutters closed behind them. The alarm kept screaming, echoing across the district. Soldiers would come soon. The mother leaned against the wall, breathing hard, tears streaming down her face. She looked at Daniel, her voice shaking. Why are you doing this?" "You don't even know us." Daniel wiped blood from his mouth, his face pale. He answered simply, his voice quiet but unshakable, "Because no one else would." The little girl stirred in her mother's arms, her breathing still weak but steady. She looked at Daniel with half-open eyes and whispered something in her alien tongue. The mother's tears grew heavier. She said, "You are her hero." Daniel's chest tightened. He looked away, scanning the alley, listening for footsteps. He knew this wasn't over. The market would hunt them. The guards wouldn't rest until they caught him, but he didn't care. He had chosen his path, and now, with soldiers hunting them and no safe place to hide, the human had only one mission left: protect the alien mother and her child, no matter the cost. The forbidden rescue had begun. The alley was dark and narrow. Broken lights flickered on the walls, throwing long shadows. Daniel stood still, his body sore and burned, his ears sharp for any sound. The alien mother held her daughter close, her green eyes shining with fear. The little girl's breathing was soft, weak, but alive. In the distance, the sound of boots echoed. Heavy metal boots. The guards were coming, Daniel whispered quickly. We have to move. If they find us here, it's over. The mother nodded, though her legs trembled. Where can we go? The city belongs to them. There is no safe place. Daniel's jaw tightened. He didn't know the city well. But he knew one rule: keep moving. If they stayed, they would die. He took her hand firmly. Follow me. Don't stop. Don't look back. They slipped deeper into the maze of alleys. The ground was wet with oil and trash. Rats scattered in the shadows. Above them, red search drones buzzed, their lights cutting through the dark like sharp blades. Every corner was a risk. Every sound could give them away. The mother whispered, Why do you risk this? They will kill you for helping us. Daniel's voice was low but steady. Because I can't stand by and watch a child die. The words made her eyes fill with tears, but she said nothing more. She only held her daughter tighter, pressing the little girl's face against her chest. Suddenly a shout rang out behind them. There! The human and the woman! Searchlights cut through the alley. Daniel cursed under his breath. Run! They sprinted! The mother stumbled, but Daniel caught her arm, pulling her forward. The guards chased, their weapons sparking blue. Drones swooped lower, beams of light crawling over walls and trash. Daniel turned sharply, leading them into a broken stairway. They climbed fast, their footsteps loud. Below, guards shouted and spread out. Shots cracked against the walls, sending sparks and dust into the air. On the rooftop, the city stretched wide, towers of metal, glowing signs, steam rising from vents. But it wasn't freedom, it was a trap of steel and eyes. Daniel scanned quickly. He spotted an old bridge connecting two buildings. Weak, rusted, but their only chance. He pointed. This way! The mother looked at the bridge with fear. The metal was thin, broken in places, hanging high above the street. It will not hold. Daniel gripped her shoulder. It has to. Without waiting, he stepped onto the bridge. The old metal groaned under his weight, but it held. He helped the mother across, her hands shaking as she balanced with the child in her arms. Every step felt like it would be the last. Behind them, guards burst onto the rooftop. Stop, or we shoot! Shots fired. Sparks rained down as bullets struck the bridge. Daniel pushed the mother forward. Go, don't stop! They reached the other side, just as part of the bridge snapped and fell into the street below. The mother cried out, almost falling, but Daniel pulled her up with all his strength. They collapsed on the rooftop, breathing hard. For a moment, silence. Only the hum of the city. The mother whispered, We cannot keep running forever. They will hunt us until we die. Daniel looked at her, his eyes sharp despite the pain in his body. Then we don't run forever. We find a place they won't look, somewhere to hide until I think of a way out. The little girl stirred, opening her eyes weakly. She looked at Daniel, her lips parting. A faint sound came out, her alien word for hero. The mother's tears fell again, but this time there was hope in them. Daniel stood slowly, scanning the rooftops. Far in the distance, he saw an old industrial district, dark, broken, abandoned. Factories no one used anymore. That would be their best chance. But the city was alive with alarms. Red lights flashed across towers. Drones circled the sky. Voices shouted orders from every street. The human and the alien mother were now the most wanted in the district. Daniel tightened his grip on the stolen staff. His body ached, his burns stung, but his spirit only grew stronger. He looked at the mother. We keep moving. For her. She nodded, clutching her daughter close. For her. They climbed down the other side of the building, slipping into another maze of alleys. The chase had just begun, and Daniel knew the night would not give them rest. Behind them, the guards spread wider, their voices like thunder. Find them. Dead or alive, the mother whispered. If they catch you, they will kill you in the worst way. Daniel only smiled grimly, his eyes cold and determined. Then they'll have to catch me first. The city seemed endless, a steel jungle filled with danger. But somewhere in the dark, Daniel believed there had to be a corner of hope. He only had to reach it before the hunters closed in. The chase was no longer about escape. It was about survival, and Daniel was not ready to die. The night air was cold, filled with smoke from old factories. Daniel led the alien mother through narrow passages, always listening for footsteps. The little girl lay weak in her mother's arms, her breathing shallow but steady. Every corner of the city was dangerous. Red drones scanned the skies, guards shouted in the distance, and sirens echoed like the growl of a monster. Yet Daniel's steps never slowed. He moved like a man who had walked through danger all his life. Finally, after what felt like hours, they reached the edge of the industrial district. Broken smokestacks rose into the sky like the bones of giants. Rusted doors hung open. The smell of oil and dust filled the air. Daniel stopped at a small workshop half buried in shadows. Its sign was broken, its walls cracked, but to him it looked like safety. He pushed the heavy door open with his shoulder and guided the mother inside. The room was filled with old tools, scraps of metal and broken machines. Rats scurried into the corners. The air was heavy but quiet. No guards, no drones, Daniel whispered. We'll rest here, just for a while. The mother set her daughter down gently on a dusty workbench. She brushed the child's hair back, her hands trembling. Tears rolled down her face as she whispered in her alien tongue, "Please stay with me." Please, Daniel knelt beside the girl. He touched her forehead. It was burning hot. She had a fever. The cage had hurt her worse than he thought. His jaw tightened. He needed to act fast. He searched the workshop, opening drawers, digging through boxes. Old wires, broken circuits, cracked glass. Nothing useful. But Daniel had lived his whole life fixing broken things, and right now a child's life was more important than any machine. He found an old coolant pipe, still holding a few drops of liquid. He broke it open and used the cloth from his shirt to soak it. Gently, he pressed it against the girl's forehead. Her skin cooled slightly and her breathing eased. The mother gasped softly. You know how to heal?" Daniel shook his head. "I'm no doctor, but I know how to survive. Sometimes that's enough." The mother stared at him for a long time, her green eyes shining in the dim light. "You are strange, human. No one else would risk their life for strangers like us. Not in this city." Daniel didn't answer. He only focused on the girl, keeping her comfortable, watching her every breath. But inside his heart was heavy. He had no idea if she would make it through the night. The mother moved closer, her hands shaking. "If she dies, I die too. She is all I have left." Daniel finally looked at her. His voice was quiet but strong. "Then she won't die. Not while I'm here." Silence filled the workshop. Only the sound of the child's weak breathing broke it. For the first time, the mother's tears slowed. She touched Daniel's arm lightly as if afraid he might vanish. "Why do you care so much? You don't even know our names." Daniel leaned back, staring at the broken roof above. "Because once on Earth, someone I loved needed help. And no one came. I swore if I ever had the chance, I would not let that happen again." The mother lowered her head. She did not fully understand his words, but she felt the truth in them. Suddenly, a noise outside froze them both. Boots. Heavy boots on metal. Guards were close. Daniel's eyes hardened. He motioned for silence. He crept to the broken window and peeked out. Shadows moved in the street, searchlights sweeping the ruins. They were hunting, slow, patient, certain. He moved back quickly. "They're near. We have to stay quiet." The mother clutched her daughter tighter, her whole body trembling. Daniel crouched near the door, gripping the stolen staff. His muscles ached, his burns stung, but his will was stronger than ever. Minutes felt like hours. The guards passed, their voices echoing through the district. At last their footsteps faded into the distance. Daniel exhaled slowly, lowering the staff. "For now we're safe." The mother looked at him, her eyes wet. "Safe? No, human. Not safe, never safe. They will not stop. They will hunt us until the end." Daniel met her gaze, his eyes sharp. "Then we keep fighting until the end." The little girl stirred, whispering faintly in her language. The mother bent close, listening, and her tears fell again. She says, "She dreams of stars. She wants to see the stars again." Daniel looked at the cracked ceiling where faint light from the moon slipped through. He smiled faintly despite the danger. "Then we'll show her the stars." The workshop was broken, dirty, and dangerous. But in that moment, it was something more. It was a shelter, a place of fragile hope. Outside, the city hunted them. But inside, for the first time, the mother and daughter were not alone. And Daniel knew. He would fight every guard, every law, even the whole galaxy if he had to, because sometimes one act of hope was enough to change everything. The old workshop was silent except for the sound of the child's weak breathing. Daniel sat by the door, gripping the stolen staff, his back against the wall. His body hurt with every movement, burns still raw, but his eyes stayed sharp. He knew safety in this city was never real, only borrowed time. The alien mother sat near the workbench, her daughter wrapped in cloth. She hummed softly in her language, a broken lullaby to calm the child. The girl's fever had eased a little thanks to Daniel's quick thinking, but she was far from healed. The mother looked at Daniel, her voice a whisper. "You saved her life again. I don't have words for what you've done." Daniel shook his head. "Don't thank me yet. We're still hunted. Until I get you both out of this city, none of us are safe." The mother lowered her eyes. She wanted to believe escape was possible, but she had lived her whole life under the shadow of the market. Hope was something she had almost forgotten, until this human appeared. But outside, not everyone saw Daniel as a savior. A pair of alien eyes had been watching the workshop from the dark street. A neighbor, thin and nervous, had seen the human and the mother slip inside. He licked his lips and whispered to himself, "The guards will pay well for this." He turned and hurried into the night, ready to trade their secret for coin. Inside, Daniel sensed none of this. He focused on preparing for the next move. He searched the shelves, finding bits of scrap, wires, and metal. His hands worked quietly, creating small traps. A tripwire here, a sharp shard balanced above the door there. Anything to slow the guards if they came. The mother watched him, confused. "You fight like a soldier, but you fix things like a builder. What are you, human?" Daniel paused for a moment. His eyes were distant, remembering Earth. "I was both. I fought when I had to. I fixed when I could. That's what survival taught me." The mother looked at him, her heart heavy. She wondered how much pain this man had carried to walk so easily with death at his side. Hours passed. The child slept, her small chest rising and falling. The mother finally closed her eyes, her head resting against the wall. For the first time in days, she felt something close to peace. But peace never lasted long. A sudden bang shook the workshop door. Daniel leapt to his feet, staff ready. The mother woke with a start, clutching her daughter close. Voices shouted outside. Boots stomped against the ground. "Open the door! Human inside! Open or we break it down!" Daniel cursed under his breath. They had been found. The mother's face turned pale. "How? No one saw us?" Daniel's eyes narrowed. He knew the answer. Someone had betrayed them. The door crashed open, splinters flying. Guards stormed in, armored and armed. The stolen staff in Daniel's hands buzzed with power as he swung it wide. Sparks flew as he struck the first guard, sending him crashing into the wall. The workshop filled with chaos. Shouts, smoke, the hum of weapons. Daniel fought with all his strength, every movement fueled by desperation. He struck, blocked, and pushed, protecting the mother and child behind him. But the guards kept coming. One guard grabbed the mother's arm, yanking her away. She screamed, clinging to her daughter. Daniel roared, smashing his staff against the guard's helmet, dropping him instantly. He pulled the mother back, shielding her once more. But they were outnumbered. Blows landed on Daniel's back, his side, his arms. His body screamed in pain, but he refused to fall. He pushed the mother toward the rear door. "Go, run!" Tears streamed down her face.
"Not without you."
Daniel's teeth clenched. He swung the staff again, clearing a path, then shoved her forward. "For her, move!" The mother stumbled into the alley with her daughter in her arms. Daniel followed, his breath ragged, blood dripping from a cut on his forehead. Behind them, guards roared and chased. The night was alive with sirens and fire. The betrayal had brought the hunters straight to them, and now the city itself seemed to rise against the human who dared defy its law. Daniel led the way through the alleys, stumbling but never stopping. Every muscle in his body begged to collapse, but his spirit refused. He would not fail them, not after everything. As they ran, the mother gasped, her voice breaking. "Why won't you let go? Why won't you save yourself?" Daniel turned his head slightly, his eyes blazing even through the blood and pain. "Because her life matters more than mine. If I die saving her, that's worth it." The mother's heart broke at his words. She held her daughter close, her tears mixing with the night rain that began to fall. Behind them, the guards shouted louder, their footsteps closing in. The betrayal had turned their fragile shelter into a battlefield, and now there was no hiding left. Daniel gripped the staff tighter, his body leaning forward, ready for the fight ahead. He knew the truth, there would be no more rest, no more safety. Only survival, And in the shadows of the city, with betrayal still burning in his mind, Daniel made a silent promise. He would not let them take the child, no matter the cost. Rain poured down on the steel rooftops, turning alleys into rivers of mud and oil. Daniel's body ached with every step. His arms shook from burns, his side bled from a cut, and his breath came heavy. Yet he never slowed. The alien mother followed close, holding her daughter tight against her chest. Behind them, the guards' shouts echoed like thunder. They had been running too long. Daniel knew the truth. There would be no escape unless someone stopped the hunters. He looked back at the mother, her face pale with fear but her eyes blazing with love for her child. She would not last much longer like this. He slowed his pace, finally stopping under a broken archway. The mother gasped. "Why stop? We must keep moving." Daniel turned, gripping the stolen staff tighter. His eyes were cold, steady. "If we keep running, they'll catch us anyway." "It ends here." The mother's face went white. No, you can't. They'll kill you." Daniel shook his head. "If they catch us all, they'll kill her too. I won't let that happen." The little girl stirred weakly, her eyes half opening. She reached out a tiny hand toward him. Daniel's chest tightened, but he forced a smile. He knelt, brushing her forehead. "Stay strong, little one. I'll keep you safe." He stood again, rain dripping from his hair. He looked at the mother. "Take her. Find somewhere to hide. Don't look back." Tears filled her eyes. She clutched his arm desperately. "Please, don't leave us. We can find another way." Daniel placed her hand over her daughter's chest. His voice was soft but unshakable. "Her heartbeat is all that matters now. Keep it alive. That's your fight. This is mine." Before she could answer, shouts grew louder. The guards were closing in, their lights flashing against the wet walls. Daniel pulled away, stepping into the open street. The rain made the ground shine like glass. The mother sobbed, falling to her knees, holding her child close. She whispered through her tears, "Don't die, human. Don't die." Daniel walked forward, staff in hand, his figure a shadow against the storm. The guards appeared, spreading across the street, armored and armed. Their leader raised a hand. "There he is. The human. Kill him!" Daniel raised the staff, his voice cutting through the rain. "Come then," the first guard charged. Daniel swung, the staff sparking with energy. It slammed into the guard's chest, sending him crashing to the ground. Another came from behind, but Daniel spun, striking with all his strength. Sparks flew. Blood splashed the rain-soaked street. The crowd of hunters closed in. Daniel fought like a man with nothing to lose. Every strike was fast, desperate, wild yet precise. His burns screamed, his blood flowed, but his spirit burned brighter than ever. One guard stabbed at his side. Daniel roared in pain but twisted the weapon free, smashing it into the attacker's helmet. Another slammed him to the ground. Daniel rolled, gasping, but rose again, swinging the staff in a wide arc. From the shadows, the mother watched with tears in her eyes. She wanted to scream, to run to him, but she knew he was buying her time. His courage lit the dark like fire. The guards circled him, their leader stepping forward. "You are only one human. Why do you fight? She is not your blood. She is nothing to you." Daniel spat blood, his voice fierce. "She's a child." "That's enough." The leader's mask tilted, almost mocking. "Then you will die for nothing." They rushed him all at once. Daniel fought like a storm, blocking, striking, pushing them back. But there were too many. Blows landed on his back, his ribs. He staggered, blood mixing with rain. His vision blurred, his strength failing. Still, he refused to fall. Every time he thought of dropping, he saw the child's face in his mind. He heard her tiny voice calling him hero. That memory gave him one more strike, one more breath, one more heartbeat of defiance. At last, his knees hit the ground. The staff slipped from his hands. The guards closed in, weapons raised. But in that moment, Daniel lifted his head. His eyes still burned with fire. His voice was low, but every word carried across the rain. "You can kill me, but she lives, and that means I win." The guards froze for a second, unsettled by the strength in his broken body. Even as blood poured from his wounds, the human would not bend. The mother pressed her daughter's face against her chest, sobbing silently. She whispered, "He is not just human. He is hope." Lightning cracked in the sky and the street glowed with fire. The last stand of one man had begun, and whether he lived or died, the story of his courage would echo through the city forever. The rain poured heavier, washing blood into the streets. Daniel was on his knees, his body broken, his hands shaking. Around him, guards circled, their weapons glowing blue. They thought the human was finished. But his eyes still burned like fire, daring them to take another step. The leader raised his staff. "End him now!" Before the strike could fall, a shout rang out from the rooftops. "Stop!" The guards turned. More shadows appeared, common citizens, workers, beggars, traders, aliens from the market. They had followed in secret, drawn by whispers of what the human had done. Word had spread fast. A man had defied the law, risked his life, and saved a child who was not his own. The citizens stood silently, filling the alleys, their eyes locked on Daniel. Some held tools, others stones. They were not soldiers, but their presence was loud. For the first time, the guards hesitated. Daniel coughed blood, forcing himself to stand again, leaning on the staff. His voice was hoarse but steady. "You can kill me, but you cannot kill what comes after," the leader hissed. "You are one man, nothing more." Daniel staggered forward, pointing the staff at him. His words cut through the storm. "One man is enough to show the rest that you bleed." The crowd stirred, murmurs growing louder. The guard shifted uneasily. The mother held her daughter close, tears falling, but her heart was filled with pride. Then chaos. The guards rushed Daniel again, but the crowd erupted, surging forward. Stones flew, metal pipes swung, angry voices roared. For years they had lived in silence, afraid of punishment. But now the human's courage had lit a spark. Fear broke and anger rose. Daniel fought one last time, his body screaming with every move. He struck the leader's mask, cracking it, sending him crashing into the mud. The others pulled back, shocked, but Daniel could not hold any longer. His knees buckled. The staff slipped from his hands. The world tilted, blurred by rain and blood. The mother screamed, rushing to him with her child in her arms. She dropped to the ground beside him, cradling his head. "Don't leave us. Please don't leave us." Daniel's breaths were shallow, his chest rising weakly. He looked at the little girl, her tiny hand reaching for him. He forced a faint smile. "She's safe now," the mother sobbed. Because of you, she lives." The crowd drove the guards back, chasing them into the night. For the first time, the hunters had retreated. The marketplace would never forget this night. Daniel coughed again, blood on his lips. His voice was a whisper. "Promise me, you'll show her the stars. Promise me she'll live free." The mother held his hand tight, her tears falling on his face. "I promise. On my life, I promise." A calmness came over him then, as if the storm had lifted from inside. His eyes closed slowly, but peace was in them. The mother pressed her forehead to his, whispering, "You were more than human. You were hope." The little girl, weak but alive, whispered one word in her alien tongue, "Hero," and Daniel's last breath carried a smile. Days later, the story spread across the city. Whispers turned into shouts and shouts into chants. The tale of the human who had defied the market, who had saved a child and faced death without fear, became legend. The mother and daughter survived. She kept her promise. She carried her child far from the city, far from the chains of the slavers. And every night she told her daughter about the man who gave everything so she could see the stars. Years passed, but the memory never faded. In dark corners where people still feared the guards, they would whisper his name, the human who stood alone. And in the hearts of those who had seen his courage, a seed had been planted. A belief that one act of bravery, even from a stranger, could change the course of many lives. That was the price of courage. Pain, blood, sacrifice, but also hope, and hope never dies.